Henry Ford was born in Dearborn, Michigan on July 30th, 1863. Henry Ford spent most of his childhood on a farm. He loved to take watches apart and put them back together to see how they worked. Unfortunately, he did poor in school and disliked it. On the same year, he quit school with a sixth-grade education and continued living on the farm. A few years later, Ford became an apprentice at a machine shop for the Detroit Dry Dock Company. Due to costs, he was fired after a week but learned more about mechanics. By 1882, Henry was able to fix and master a Westinghouse steam engine and started working for Westinghouse, repairing and operating steam engines. Henry's father wanted him to become a farmer and gave him 40 acres of timberland. In return, he used it to create a machinist workshop. On April 11th, 1888, Henry Ford marries Clara Jane Bryant. They build their own house on the farm the following year. Although Henry Ford and Thomas Edison are good friends, Henry leaves Edison Illuminating to found the Detroit Automobile Company on August of 1899. On the September of 1891, Henry Ford gets a job at the Edison Illuminating Company to learn more about electricity. 2 years later, he becomes the chief engineer at the main facility plant. On December 24th, 1893, Henry Ford built a one-cylinder engine, which was the first step to creating his first car in 1896, called the quadricycle. The quadricycle had a two-cylinder, four-cycle combustion engine with no reverse gear and was driven with a steering stick. 2 years later, his company comes to an end because his supporters wanted faster profits. Henry regains his popularity through racing and builds a huge race car called 999. The race car was driven by a famous bicycle racer named Barney Oldfield, who, with the race car, achieved an American record in a 5-mile race. By June 16, 1903, the Ford Motor Company is founded and is the start to a successful career. On August 17, 1904, Ford decides to expand his company by creating the Ford Motor Company of Canada with 17 workers. In 1907, he creates a tractor called the Autoplow to reduce the labor of farming that he had to endure as a young man. Henry Ford creates the Model T Ford on October 1st, 1908. By 1924, more than half the cars sold in America are Model Ts. On January 9th, 1911, the Ford Motor Company won a lawsuit that invalidated the 1879 Selden patent that claimed rights to all vehicles powered by internal combustion engines. Henry Ford began creating moving assembly lines, and by 1924, around 9,000 cars were assembled daily. To increase the speed of production even further, he made all Model Ts come in black because it dried the fastest. Henry eventually doubled workers' pay and helped mass-produce vehicles for the U.S. armies. On May 31st, 1927, the production of Model Ts stopped as they finished their 15 millionth car. Later that year, he began the production of the Model A Ford. In 1932, Henry created a V8 engine that was lighter and more powerful than other V8s. The V8 engine is the last innovation that Henry Ford made himself. Henry Ford died on April 7, 1947, from a series of severe strokes. Not only had Henry Ford created a cheap and affordable automobile, but also he had become a hero to other car manufacturers who no longer have to pay royalties to use internal combustion engines.